going down, D-Gens? Here I am. I actually had time to make a video this week. I'm very surprised and shocked with myself. Delighted, actually. Because I've been traveling this whole week. I actually took a trip this week to Vegas to go put the plays in for the season-long bets. So it's been great. It's been a good week. I've been out of the house doing all kinds of stuff, meeting people, and, D-Gen just kind of out in the world and about. So let's get into the pick, though. If you didn't see the post earlier this week, I'll go over it with you real quick. I only got one for this week. And honestly, there really wasn't a whole lot out there. There were some picks that I had prior to the preseason starting that I've kind of backed off only because obviously stuff changes. Quarterback's not playing, or maybe coaching's going differently than expected. So the play for this week, and I put this out on YouTube and a couple other places, was Bears minus 2.5. It still is, but I will tell you that the line has moved. It's actually now Bears minus 1.5. There's a couple things here. Number one, as far as preseason goes, Ben Johnson, in his short career here as a head coach, he is 3-0-1 as a head coach, whereas Zac Taylor is 6-13-1 as a head coaching in the preseason. So the Bengals typically do not win preseason games. That's just never been his thing. Now, last year, he came out saying he was going to play more of the starters in the preseason so that they don't have such a slow start the way that they were for a few years with the Bengals. And that was one of the biggest knocks on the Bengals, as they were coming out of the gates going like 0-2 consistently. And so they tried to change that around last year. And they did get some wins out of the gate last year, so it worked for them. But they still really weren't winning preseason games. They were just giving their guys some early, some starts. Now, they did win a game last year, but they're more concerned with just getting the reps in for their starters. So same thing here, kind of what we've been talking about, coaching, whereas Ben Johnson is really putting effort into actually winning the game, and Zac Taylor is more so trying to get his guys up to speed. And then you very rarely see Joe Burrow play really past the second quarter, if even into the second quarter. And that goes for all the other starters as well, right? So, and the Bengals, the other thing, and this is kind of a key thing here if you want to really hone in on like personnel skills and things like that. As far as the Bengals go, sorry, as I put my do not disturb on, the Bengals offensive line is really shallow. We've known that for a while now, but nothing's changed. They brought in some guys and they've moved some things around, so they have a decent enough starting front line now, but it's very shallow. They don't have a lot of depth behind it, and that matters for the preseason because you don't want those guys that you're relying on, obviously, to be playing deep into this preseason game. So they're going to come out, in that first half at some point, right? Depending on how the flow goes. That being said, regardless of who they put in as their backup, right? So like in this case, it's most likely Joe Flacco. The offensive line is going to just be subpar. We'll leave it at that to be nice about it. And then as the game goes on, it gets worse and worse and worse. And I did hear a point brought up about 2 weeks ago at this point. The defensive line, the guys who are playing, and they're their third string, fourth string, things like that, fifth string even, right, in the preseason games, those guys get reps in practice and even in regular season. You're consistently digging into those third, fourth stringers on the depth chart, right? They're at least getting some sort of work in these games, in the real regular season games. And the offensive side of the ball, not so much. Right? The offensive line pretty much stays out there as far as the starters go the entire game. There's not a lot of switching back and forth. So while the third string defensive line and the fourth string defensive line may be really good and they're really up to par and not a huge difference between starting and even a fourth stringer, the offensive line, not so much. Right? So if you're going to the third string for your offensive line, and now you're working with someone who gets way fewer reps and is seeing a lot less live action, you're probably less likely to have a starter quality, center or left tackle or whatever in the game. So advantage goes to the defense as we get later into these games. I would say that's going to also be the case here, and that's going to be especially impactful for the Bengals. So give me the Bears minus the 1.5. I took it at minus 2.5. And actually, there's one other note I want to go on to about this. Well, two, I guess. First, as far as quarterbacks go, I'm going to trust Case Keenum over Josh Johnson, which is who we're probably going to see most of in this game. As far as the Bears, they have Case Keenum. Josh Johnson is going to play for the Bengals. But other than that, I also wanted to go over the stat that we found here on X. Oh, of course, I lost it as soon as I tried to get to it. This is my X, guys. If y'all want to look me up here, it is at AG Sports 21 or Gambling Gazette, as you can see in the title here. But either way, we'll just skip this because I don't want to show you guys me trying to search for it. But essentially, playing against the line moves in the preseason. This year it's gone 0 and 8, right? Meaning that if you won if you played against the line. So wherever you see the line move in the preseason, we're not chasing steam. We're actually going away from it. So in this case, we have the Bears minus 2.5. It's gone in favor of the Bengals, which means we should be doing opposite, which means we should still be playing the Bears. So it's 0 and 8 this year, but over the last 5 years, it's only a 31% win rate to play with the line movement, right? So you really want to be on the other side. Anytime you're seeing the preseason moves, it's a 69% chance that you're going to win if you're going against it. So just something to keep in mind. And I can see how that works because this happened to us last year or last week. Specifically, it was with the Packers Steelers game because the Steelers came out and they were like, "Oh man, we're not going to play Aaron Rodgers. We're not playing any of these people." And we saw the opposite with the Packers. You just see a huge line move, and people flip when they hear, "Oh man, someone's going to play a little bit." Which I get it. Like I understand why you're doing that, but they end up playing the full game instead of like the first quarter or the first half. And some books are very limited. And the impact of a player playing, especially if it's a starter, is not typically, extended time. It's going to be like the first drive, maybe the first quarter, first two drives, something like that. So you're better off playing those as like a first quarter play or maybe like an over in the first half, something like that, than you are to play the full game. And so I get it. That line gets really inflated really quickly or moves against, probably the better decision really quickly. So fading that line move has been very profitable. So keep that in mind. Again, we're still on the Bears, so we're on the right side already, but just another reason to kind of stick to the Bears in this game. Now, I do want to go over one other thing here, and this is not regarding the Bears and the Bengals. This is just going into the regular season because we're getting pretty close to it, guys. We got 2 more weeks before the live bullets start flying here. I want to go over the team or teams that I'm going to be tracking very closely, and specifically the coach, right? Because if you're new to the channel, number one thing you should know is that I really like to pay attention to the coaching. Yeah, the players are great, but I can tell you, if you're in the NFL, you're probably pretty good. You got there for a reason. You didn't just, it's not one of these like nepotism things typically, other than maybe Marvin Harrison. But you're probably pretty good. Your team around you is probably pretty good. So not a whole lot of, wiggle room there. The players are going to be good. The coaching is really what comes into play. And I know there's some people that don't believe that. Like, man, no, it's all about the quarterback or it's all about having the best receiving core or whatever it may be. Those things help, guys. But in my opinion, the way I attack football in general, it's like a chess match. And having a great player, right, like an above average player, maybe it adjusts the move a little bit, right? So if your knight can usually go up 2 and over 1, now he can go up 2 and over 2, right? So maybe you have a little bit of advantage, like little edges you can stack up for, hey, man, my receiver is really good. My running back is better than other running backs. My line's a little bit better than this line. Those things are going to help, and they're going to make a game a little bit easier. But the player, in the chess analogy here, is the one who really comes into play, right? Because all the pieces on the board are relatively the same. Maybe you have a little edge here and there, but the guy who's making the moves is the one that's going to dictate the wins and losses. So it comes down to coaching, and who can we look at, or what can we look at to see what coaches are going to be really good, what's going to be the next wave of, Sean Payton's and Dan Campbell's and Sean McVay's before they get there. Well, the coaching grade that I use as far as my algorithm is concerned has actually been really accurate the last, I would say, 5 years at this point, as far as pinpointing where we can find good coaches and what coaches are maybe not as good, even though their team exceeds expectations. So, like, number one example with this one is Zac Taylor with the Bengals. Last year, he came in, let's just call it 104. Not a bad grade at all. But the year that they went to the Super Bowl, in my grading algorithm, he had like an 89, which was one of the worst grades out there. So, or 88, something like that. But he was just a really shit poor coach at the time. And yeah, he's gotten better. But last year, I think actually kind of helped him that he had so many injuries, which is a weird thing to say, but it's true. It really impacted his game planning and the play calling by not having just a set pieces, right? He had to continually adjust. He knew that, okay, we can't run the same offense that we ran with Burrow. Now we're doing with Flacco. Now we're doing with Browning. Now we're doing what? So constantly having to change it up, I think actually helped him. But overall, I have about a 5-year track record here saying that Zac Taylor is just not a great coach. Last year was the best year that I recorded for him. And again, I don't think a lot of that was his own doing. Now maybe he continues, growing. Maybe it's something he can change into as we move forward. But I wouldn't put money on it. Let's go that way. Now, what you're looking at here is last year's information, which is why like John Gannon and Arthur Smith are still on there. But the one coach that I see that, man, they did really good for their first year as a head coach is Brian Schottenheimer. Now, the Cowboys coaching staffs before him have just been, they've lacked quite a bit, right? Whether it was McCarthy or Jason Garrett or whoever, they've just never really been great. McCarthy wasn't terrible, but he was not the coach to get them over the hump. With Schottenheimer, the first year he comes in, he's at a 108. So he's, I think, the 11th best coach by this grading algorithm. Now, so you know what goes into this grading algorithm, it does go over point margins as far as how much are you winning by when you win, one score game percentages, DVOA, pass rate, expected points added or EPA, success rates, your QBR, air yards, all those things. So, and there's a little bit more that goes into that as well, but it takes into account quite a bit. And while some of this is player driven, like a QBR, a lot of it again does get reflected back on the coach because, like I said, your quarterback and your team is only going to do what your coach is asking them to do. So that's why everything in here gets kind of absolved by the coach. So Schottenheimer coming in at 11th place for his first year as an NFL head coach gives me a lot of hope for this guy in the future because he's going to get better. We typically see a second year head coaching jump, just like we do with players, right? Second year, third year gets even better from your rookie year. I would expect to see the same with Schottenheimer, and they've added more pieces. They've added more guys to their defense. You're getting a lot of buy-in, a lot of good vibes around the Cowboys. Now, obviously, it's the Cowboys. They're pretty much always going to be in some sort of limelight, but Schottenheimer has actually put some emphasis on the plays and play calling and execution and making this team kind of adapt to where he wants them to be. And so I'm trusting the guy, and I think he's going to probably have the Cowboys in contention. And I know a lot of people out there, especially if you're like, man, I'm an Eagles fan, I'm a Giants fan, whatever, and I think the Cowboys suck. They shit out every year. Even if they get to the playoffs, that's true. But again, I think that is more of a reflection going back to McCarthy and Garrett. And especially McCarthy, right? Because those were some embarrassing losses for Dak. And maybe some of that does lay at the feet of Dak Prescott. But new coach, new season. This is his second year. They're taking on his identity. They're a little scrappier. I think you see this team actually take a step forward. And I wouldn't be surprised to not just see the Cowboys make the playoffs, but to actually, by the end of the season, be contending for a real shot as far as like a deep playoff run. Not the Super Bowl just yet, but just at least to get to like the NFC championship game or making some noise in there. So I wanted to go over that because he's the number one coach that I see here, taking kind of a step forward and eventually maybe being a household name here in the not too distant future. Aside from him, most of these guys that are really good last year are pretty much guys that we know are really good, right? So someone like a Harbaugh, Sean McVay, Mike Vrabel, all these guys, they're really good. We know they're good. Sean Payton, Dan Campbell. There's not a whole lot to go off of there or nothing new to learn there. The other one, and this, I was going to kind of lead with this, but it's almost like why everybody knows. Ben Johnson is a really good coach as well. He's right behind Brian Schottenheimer. He's really good team. I think he gets more of the credit because he took a team from being a losing absolute joke of a team to a playoff team. So of course, he's going to get more recognition, and it's with the Bears. But him and Schottenheimer, in my opinion, honestly very close as far as metrics are concerned. Ben Johnson may continue to be better, and he may way supersede whatever Schottenheimer does in the not too distant future. But both these guys, I think, are going to be good coaches for years to come in the NFL. It's just Ben Johnson. Kind of everybody knows the guys gets the publicity. The guy gets the publicity. The Bears are like everyone's darling right now, so I don't think we need to go over that one too much. But him and Schottenheimer, keep your eye out for them. If you have questions on a coach, maybe what they did last year, what their history is, let me know in the comments below. If you're looking for more plays, guys, as always, the book is 99 cents. The link is in the description below. And then lastly, if you're looking for a good place to play and take any of these wagers forward, Bovada and GTBets are in the links below as well. And they do both have really good benefits. They're going to give you guys a 100% bonus right now if you sign up right before the NFL season starts. And GTBets, of course, has the lowest rollover requirement in the industry as far as books that I look at. So take a look at it, see what you can get from them. Also, sign up, if nothing else, to see the lines that are provided. But that's it for today, guys. Hopefully the Bears are on the right side of this one. As usual, we can keep the trend going. We are 2-1 with the preseason so far. You guys have a great day. I will see y'all again soon to talk about week 3 and then some Madden algorithm changes from injuries for week 1 of the regular season. See y'all later.